Hey friends, thank you for watching. I would like to share a quote by Vince Lombardi, and I'm going to tie this in with Lisanne, Froon, and Kremers. But first of all, I want to tie this. I wanted to share this quote. Now, if you don't know who Vince Lombardi is, he's widely known in America as one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, the National Football League. So this is what Vince Lombardi said, and I think there's a lot of truth in this statement, and I wanted to share this with you. Vince Lombardi, he said, quote, winning is not a sometime thing. It's an all-the-time thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do the right thing once in a while. You do them all the time. Winning is a habit. And unfortunately, so is losing. End of quote. The part I want to concentrate on is you don't do the right thing once in a while. You live a lifestyle. And there's certain things that someone that is not violent toward others, someone that's compassionate toward others, how they live. And yes, they might have bad days. They might have days where they're off, but there's certain boundaries people won't go. And by where someone's boundaries will take them, even if it's on a bad day, it's very telling about that person. Because a normal person, they won't overstep certain grounds. Our lives are a habit, and really, someone just observing how we live, someone observing our lives, they can get a roundabout view about our core values just by what we do and how we live in our attitudes. So there's a review, and this was posted by a woman that actually had Feliciano, the tour guide that was in contact with Lisanne Kremers and Lisanne Froon and Kremers. And this is a woman that a couple years later, she actually took a tour with Feliciano. And she left this message, she left this review on the internet on Feliciano. And when I'm talking about there's certain boundaries that certain people won't go, and if they do go that boundary, even if they're having a bad day and they go a certain level, it's so telling about that individual. This is what this woman said in her tour guide on Feliciano. And she starts it with, and this is dated, if I had the date right, it's September 2018. So about 4.5 years after Lisanne Froon and Kremers, they didn't have him on the tour with them, but they were in contact with them. And Feliciano, he kind of was awfully influential in certain ways in this investigation of this case. So anyway, this is what this woman said about Feliciano. And Feliciano, he did have contact with the Lisanne Froon and Kremers. He had contact with them. He even admitted that he was supposed to take them on a tour the next day, on April 2nd. But this is what this woman said about Feliciano. And she said in the beginning of her, in the bold letters, she said, great guide, but not for women traveling alone. That was the subject line of her review. Great guide, but not for women traveling alone. And then this is what she wrote in her body of her text. And she said, quote, it took me almost a year to finally post this review. Now, unquote. It took her a year to post this. And to me, now I never talked to this individual, but to me, when someone says something like that, something really bothered her, really internally. I don't want to overuse the word trauma. Let's just say a really bad experience that might have traumatized her to some degree. I mean, she was scared. I mean, it seems like she was scared. I don't know for a fact. I never spoke to her, but something kept her from sharing this for a year, and she admitted that. So, in my opinion, and I don't know who she is, but when I read that, I think that this person, she was so bothered that it was an internal struggle to even share this with people. Sometimes when people are victims of things, they self blame when they shouldn't. If you're a victim, it's not your fault. It's the other person's fault. They victimize you. But sometimes we sometimes people have a way of thinking things are their fault. So I don't know this woman's situation. It was this was a hard event for her, and that's what I gathered from it. Took me almost a year to post this event, and I'm going to get back to what she wrote. She said, "Quote: I strongly recommend women to not hire Feliciano as your guide if you're going by yourself. It's a big contrast if you look at the other reviews where Feliciano is described as being a very nice person, which he probably is for many people. I have to say, he's very charming, funny, and you can probably, as you will read in other reviews, have a great day with him." Unquote. Okay, so he can kick in the charm. He has a charming personality, and which I don't think that's a surprise if you follow the Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers investigation. So let's get back to this review. She says, quote, I think she meant I did, but she said, did a walking tour with him, with Feliciano. He's a guy that knows the area by heart. Not long after we left, he suddenly started to flirt with me and also touching me, first my hand, but also my arms, shoulders, and legs, even after telling him many times to stop doing that. He wears a big machete and suggested to chop off my legs. This, of course, was a joke, but still. He has an obsession for Northern European women, and I felt very unsafe. It's a personal story, but Google his name and you'll unfortunately find many more stories like this about him. I, I am tired of people, and if you follow this case, you've heard that review, you've seen that review. But this is what irritates me is people, they brush that review under the rug. They're like, well, it's one bad experience. One person had this, he did this to one person. This is one person's experience with him. But there's so many other people that had great reviews with him, and they sweep it under the rug. They're like, well, it's a one-time thing. That's why I wanted to go to Vince Lombardi's quote: "Our daily activities, what we do in our daily lives, it forms a habit." And there's certain lines, as I said before, that someone, even on a bad day, a normal person won't go. Friends, on a normal day, would you continue to touch a woman's legs when you're off on a trail and you're the guide, you're the paid guide, you're the professional guide? Would you continue to touch her legs after she repeatedly told you not to? I mean, that's very telling. Why why would you sweep that under the rug? I think that right there, yeah, sure, he might have been having a bad day. Some people argue, well, that's just one day, and he was so good on the friends. There's certain things people don't do. There's certain things that a normal person or a good-natured person won't do, and lines you don't cross no matter what. As you're on a tour guide with someone in the woods, and your job is basically to show them around and have a good time, you're not going to touch their body parts and make them feel like you're bothering them. Like I mean, can you imagine how horrible it was for that person? And yeah, that was a joke about chopping her legs off with this machete. Yeah, and she even recognized that, yeah, he was joking, but then she said, but still, even, when you tell a joke, that's in your head. I mean, would you joke like that? I mean, if you're with one woman and it's not like you knew this person for it's not like it's your sister, okay? It's not like it's a cousin. This is a person that hired you for a job. They don't know you very well. Would you really joke around about you're in the woods with you're in the woods with her and you're joking about chopping off her legs with a machete? People don't do that. Our our actions, our attitudes, our gestures in life form habits. And as I've said repeatedly in this video, there's certain things people do and there's certain lines that people will not cross. And just the point that we know Feliciano, he crossed this line one time. We have it on record by this woman's account. Now it's her credit, as her account. I tend to believe her. I don't know for a fact what happened, but I tend to believe her. If we know, if we believe her, and if we are pretty sure that this probably did happen like she said it did, why on earth would we sweep this under the rug and just say, well, look at all these positive reviews? Why on earth would we do that? How many times have you gone to a restaurant and you got a bad potato, you got a bad steak, you got a bad hamburger, whatever, and you left a negative review? Most people don't leave negative reviews. The vast majority of people, they'll just eat and they'll pay and they just won't go back to the restaurant. So just that you have such a telling review, even just one that's so telling like that on the internet, it speaks volumes in my opinion. I think that speaks volumes, and that's not something that should be swept under the rug. Winning is a habit. Doing the right thing is a habit. So is doing the wrong thing. So, friends, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that, and maybe I want to speak up for the underdogs. I don't know, but I've seen various people cover this case who want to just say, they just want to discard that review. No, we shouldn't discard it. Actually, we should study it. I think it might tell us a lot more than it possibly could be insight into a character that other people are just trying to discard. Anyway, thank you for watching, friends. Take care.